Hey, folks. Well, there's some verses, and still on that theme about the beauty of growing older. There are certain benefits to it. It certainly, by the way, isn't the fact that you don't get to sleep through the whole night, which we'll talk about that perhaps another time. It isn't the fact that you're not as mobile as you used to be. There are things that, obvious setbacks. But there is an incredible opportunity that we have, a benefit that's given to us, I think, in all of, these times when we feel perhaps that the world is passing us by. There's this great opportunity. Uh, it's in Psalm 71. I'll read it to you, but it's actually the psalm for those that are aging. And in this psalm, he says, "You've taught me from my youth," in verse 17, "and I still declare your wondrous deeds. And when I'm old and gray, O God, do not forsake me until I declare thy strength to this generation and the power to all who are to come. For thy righteousness, O God, reaches to the heavens. You have done great things. O God, who is like you?" I just want you to think about it. One of the beauties of growing old is that you have seen a lot. You've seen the, how can I say it, the ups and downs of social change. You have seen the effects over a period of time of these beliefs and decisions upon the lives of others. You've also, I hope, you've viewed the effects of good biblical teaching and our faith in it on the lives, the effect of it on the lives of others. You've seen the ups and downs of Christianity in terms of those times when they're troubled times and those times when there's incredible joy. You've had the opportunity to experience all those things. And one thing that you have had the opportunity to see, I think it's in Psalm 37 verse 24, that speaks about, "I've been young and I have been old. Now I'm old." He says, I've never seen the righteous abandoned nor forsaken. That's interesting. I've just seen God be faithful. We can say a lot about the lives of those people that, have come and gone, perhaps for various reasons, some justifiable, some not. But one thing I do know about God, he's been faithful. When the Word of God says in 1 Corinthians 1:9 that God is faithful, God truly is faithful. What he says, he will do. If you're his child, you're his child. You may be a good child, you may be a bad child, but you're his child. And he has a plan for you and me and every other believer on this earth. And by the way, he cares about everyone. And one of the beauties of growing old is the ability to recognize that, to not shut ourselves down to the world around us, and also to be free to speak. By the way, you don't have to worry about what people think anymore. You've been through all that. You've paid the price of living based upon the dictates of others for a good percentage of your life. Now that you're old, you get to say what you want. Hopefully, as a believer, you say it with mercy, you say it with kindness, you say it with grace, you say it with respect. You say it in Ephesians 4 and verse 15 with love, but you get to say it. That's the beauty of getting old. Because people, whether they receive it or not, and if they don't, that's their own problem. You get to say it. You say, "Well, I've always been like that." Have you really? I remember when I was younger, I had to think of 1,000 different ways to get a point across. I just say it. I'm not saying that you don't seek examples or illustrations. Obviously you do, but wanted to make sure people understood. Wanted to make sure that, people got it. Now you just say it. And the clarity of being able to just speak transparently. Just say it. Just say it. Look, we have a testimony of God's faithfulness to share with many others. It's absolutely a fun thing to do. Now, I've shared with you recently, I kept it quiet for a long time, but, going through various treatments for radiation treatments for a certain form of prostate cancer, but the beauty of just being able to speak to people and not being no longer caring what, lovingly just speaking to people, just saying hi, just enjoying a conversation, and then pulling out all those little details of life, like, how's your wife taking this? How's your children? Are they helping out? How's everything going? How did this start with you? And being able to take that information and say, on the heels of it, say, I just want you to know I'll be praying for you. All of these opportunities that, I'll be honest with you, as a younger person, I probably would have been, too afraid to speak. Or, there's just an opportunity, an openness that we have, that God has given to us. And this is where I think, there is such a privileged opportunity. I loved last Saturday listening to Richard Urich, 100 years old, going to 101, share, and just to pull out of him his experience with God in the midst of, as an unbeliever, a believer, going through World War II, all the different experiences, just to hear of God's faithfulness from someone who had gone through experiences. For many people, they haven't had the opportunity to experience those things. And yet God is giving them insight through who? An older person that is declaring the greatness of God to a younger generation, telling about all his faithfulness, telling about all his goodness, speaking of all of his deeds, his righteous deeds. Yeah, we have the privilege of doing that. Our God has placed us in settings, and we're old enough to recognize it now. That's a beautiful thing. God has that for you and for me. Till next time, friends, God bless you.